from different spheres. We entertain you and educate you at the same time. It's called edutainment. And in studio tonight is actually the one and only renowned Kenyan musician, Emmy award-winning song written by him. From one of the Villagers, one of the best band I used to listen to. My favorite song was the one of the Kuku songs. I'm not going to say the brand. That was my favorite. Pioneered the Genge and the Benga music. Has written music for film, TV, including ER and Blood Diamond. He's also a mentor, a judge in a music TV show that used to bring all of us together on a Sunday. And in the red corner, blue corner, all the corners, I've got one and only Chris Adwar. Karibu sana.
Asante. Naona umefanya research mob. Mpaka you reminded me of some things which I had forgotten about.
For real?
Yeah.
Karibu sana.
Yeah. I'm so excited to have you as well over here, because I've watched you for years, I've admired you for years, and I'm just like, everybody should just hear your story, especially your journey. Let's start from the beginning. That's what we normally do over here. So in your journey, when you were pursuing music, was it the first thing that you're pursuing, or you pursued something else, then you decided, let's do music?
No, I think music has been the only thing for me. And it started as early as Form 2.
Okay.
When I was in second form, I resolved to become a musician, and I pursued it right from then. I was one of those ones of skiving class to find my way into the music room. Holiday tuition was a rumor to me. I mean, we'd go to school, yes, but our school had a music room, so I'd spend a lot of my time in the music room. It became a problem, actually. Yeah, but I had resolved to be a musician from back then. And the inspiration came from my elder brother. I had an older brother who passed away, but he was a fantastic musician. He was sort of more on the educational side, so to speak. I mean, the classical music, music high school and all that stuff. Yeah. And he was really good at it. And I wanted to be like him. That's the guy who, in fact, he's also the one who introduced me to pop music, because I'd never really listened to pop music per se, because in our house, growing up, my dad was a musician, yes, a music educator, but it was music festival type music. So it was the classical music. So that's all the music that we grew up around. But then my bro now started playing me Queen Latifah, started playing me stuff by Quincy Jones, and I just knew that I wanted to do music like that. So I always wondered, how do I get music from my mind onto the radio, like the way this guy plays it? So so from back then, I was just trying to figure out how does that process happen. So when I was in second form, first I got exposed to instruments properly in first form when I joined Patch. I joined the school band, and now knowing the instruments and learning how to play them, I figured, so this thing is actually possible. So I now needed to figure out how to translate that into music that's consumable by audiences that are not seated with me.
Yeah, for the uninitiated Patch is Nairobi School.
Yeah. It's the great Nairobi School.
Nairobi School. I'm sorry. So, Chris, you've worn so many hats: producer, composer, performer. Which role actually feels home to you?
This is the interesting thing that I find about myself, and I look at it as a blessing and also as a curse at the same time. I think I'm decent in all of them. I don't want to say I'm good, just simply because people will say, "Hey, we're Jamana Malingos," but I do all of them equally well. So I'm an alright songwriter. I'm an alright keyboard player. I'm an alright singer. I don't consider myself a singer that much, but I'm an alright singer. I can hold a gig. I'm an alright musical director, and I'm an alright composer for film, etc. And even on commissioned music, like for example the Emmy award-winning song "Say Yes for the Children," which I'm not the only one who won that award. It was me with RK, with Morris Oyando, Talia Oyando. It was a whole bunch of people that were involved in that project. So that we are all Emmy award winners: Steve Gatitu, Gideon Kemanzi, a whole bunch of guys. So even on commissioned music like that, I'm okay. I can sort of do this thing. But now the problem is, why I'm calling it a curse in a sense, is that because of that, when songwriters are doing something, they don't consider me one of them. They say, but Chris is an artist. When artists are doing something, they say, but Chris is a songwriter or a producer. When producers are doing something, they say, but Chris is a producer as well. Is an artist. So I don't fit anywhere squarely.
Okay.
So it's what season am I in? That's how I look at myself. So if I'm in the season of production, that's what I'm focusing on. If I'm in the season of performance, that's what I'm focusing on. Currently, I'm in the season where I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm just like, I have stuff, but I'm like, how do I get this stuff out?
Which actually scares me to ask you, because now I wanted to put you in a box. For somebody who's never heard your music, how would you describe your technique, your artistry? How do you just describe to somebody who's never heard your music before?
First, I call my music experimental. All the songs of mine that you've ever heard were experiments. I was trying to figure out, okay, what if I fuse this with this, and I fuse this with this thing, what comes out the other end? I'll give you a practical story. If you look back in the history of Kenyan pop music, go back to 2010 backwards, and then find me a Kenyan pop song, A-list pop song, one of the ones that were popular on radio, that had that guitar, that Lingala guitar. Find one, you won't find. But from 2010 onwards, you're able to find them. There were not that many in 2010. 2011, there weren't that many. 2012, they started coming along. Then all of a sudden, now, you can't release a song which doesn't have a guitar. I mean, unless it's Gengeton and stuff like that. But if you're doing Afrobeats, it needs to have that guitar. And that guitar is the sound that you hear on Surayako is the sound you hear on Nam Mogopamu Peke, that guitar, Polycarp's guitar. It's in all that music. Now, when we're doing that music in 2010, we're calling it Bengenge. This is what I told guys who I was seated with. I told them, listen, you don't have to call your music Bengenge. Call it a name, and then we'll all jump onto it. Because if we don't name our music, then somebody is going to take that music and create something and say, yes, maybe they had the idea from us. We don't know if they did. But then they take it and they call it what? They call it Tropical House.
True.
So Tropical House came out when you had Tropical House the first time, you're like, hey, this sounds so local. Sindio?
True.
If you look at a song by an artist called Stromae, Papa Ute, listen to it and listen to the end. There's a Lingala guitar that plays in there. That it just didn't exist in our local music, except on the live band side. And some of the questions that artists used to ask then is, hey, kwani every gig has to end with a 7? Now they're all ending their gigs with a 7.
Right.
You know, it sort of has to feature somewhere in the gig. Now, it's not to say that I'm the one who came up with that idea entirely, because prior to us guys, it was musically speaking, Zanaziki were doing that same music. It's just the musical landscape was a little different. In our time, it was easier to get the music to the masses than it was back then. Now, the masses were listening to it, they were absorbing it, even though they didn't know that they were subconsciously absorbing it. Now, those masses, those people who, a bunch of people that I meet nowadays tell me, hey, I know you, I used to listen to you when I was a kid. So, but those are the artists now.
They're
the artists now, and the music is influenced by that sound. And my argument has always been, all musicians get older. When they get older, what do? They begin to embrace the older stuff. And that, to me, I think is not an answer to the question you asked.
But we know where we're heading. It's all right, it's all good.
So your band, The Villagers.
Yes.
What inspired actually you guys coming together, working as a band, and actually the name? Because me, for the longest, you guys have been my favorite. That Kasogo, I always.
This is the thing. We stole the band. Okay, not steal, but we in a sense we did. This is what happened. We used to play backup for an artist called Kanji. You all know Kanji.
Kanji Gogo.
So our band was Kanji's studio was called Kijiji. So Kanji would do gigs as Kanji and the Villagers from Kijiji, right? And we did do gigs, and then there came about this gig which we were doing for TV for a show called Hatua. Hatua was a talk show. It was actually the first Kenyan talk show. At least that's what was said. I don't know if it actually is, but yes, it was the first Kenyan talk show with a live band on set. And I had been given the job to put together the band, and which guys did I get together? It was the Villagers band, right? So we went on that show, and Kanji was not available, so I had to sing. So that's how we became the Villagers band. Now Kanji went on to do other things at that particular point. He did the Mavuno worship project. He did all these things, but us guys were not involved in those ones. But we couldn't stop playing gigs. We couldn't stop earning some 20 bob here and there.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the Villagers stuck and we continued. So really the Villagers is Kanji's band. That's what it is. It's just that now when Kanji went on to other things.
Was it Mavuno more gospel rather than how the Villagers were playing, right?
Yeah. And I mean, when I think about it, even the Villagers is mostly even though our music is not necessarily gospel, I call it Christian music. It's music with Christian values that just talks about social things, but from a Christian perspective. And I don't think we have any songs that are just out there. Any songs that are Dhambi 100%.
I like that you're talking about songs. Which song in particular is very special and dear to your heart?
That's a very difficult question.
Okay.
Because, like I said, all my songs are experimental. Even the one song that, I mean, well, people, depending on who you ask, there's some songs that are very popular to them, but I'll talk about one song, Someday, the song I do with Atemi. It's a beautiful love ballad, beautiful duet that has made many couples and their parents cry at their weddings. It's an amazing song, in my opinion. When I wrote that song, I wrote it as an experiment, because songs used to be 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes, 4 minutes back then. Nowadays they're getting shorter and shorter, 2 minutes. But when you go back to an artist called Bob Dylan, who in my opinion is one of the absolute best songwriters to have ever lived, in my opinion. Okay. When you look at Bob Dylan's music, and at that particular point I was going through a Bob Dylan phase because I liked John Mayer, and John Mayer kept pointing us back to Bob Dylan. So I started listening to Bob Dylan. He's not a fantastic singer. He's very much like me in the sense of he can't sing, but he has to sing his songs. So when I listen to Bob Dylan, I don't hear good singing. What I hear is good songwriting, and it works for his voice. So the music is just perfect for his voice. So as you listen to the song, you're not drawn to his voice so that you're like, hey, I hate the song because you don't like his voice. It's just that it's as though a person is talking to you without faking his voice. You know, and that's what Bob Dylan sounds like to me. And I noticed that some of his songs were 1 minute long, some were 2 minutes, some were 1.5 minutes long. There was the occasional 3-minute song, but all the songs were complete in the sense that if it was a 10-second song, he has told the story in that 10 seconds and Kwisha. So I was like, I want to write the shortest song I can and see what happens. So I wrote Someday, verse 1 and the chorus, and that was supposed to be the end of the song. Then TPF happens, Valerie wins, and I had just done some work for Homeboys, for SEMA. And Valerie's album was being done at Homeboys, and John Rabba calls me and asks me, what can you do for Valerie? So I say, okay, I have a bunch of songs here, and this is one of them. It's called Someday, and explained the way I've told you the story of it. And Valerie said, yeah, I like it, but can you make it jazzy? Okay. I said, sasa
which direction inaenda wapi?
Hii ya kufanya jazzy, hii ya
fakula venyiko.
So I was just like, hey, you know what, let me just leave this song. So I didn't do anything on her album, sadly. Then Atemi was called in to record.
Right.
And she listened to the song and said, Chris, this song, can you add a second verse to it? I was like, okay, cool, I can add a second verse. Then you sing it as a duet with Eric Wainaina. She said no, I'll sing it with you.
She said she wanted you.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, cool. But I mean, I still wasn't sure because I mean, how am I singing next for Atemi? How, you know? So I went and I built a song. I wrote a second verse and a third verse. So the second verse, of course, is her singing alone. The second verse is the duet, the back and forth between the man and the woman. And I played it for her. And she's like, yeah, let's jump into the studio and record this right now. So we recorded it, brought in the musicians. And that for me was special in the sense that there was magic that happened at that particular point. Such that it became, when people were calling me for gigs, they were like, yeah, so Chris, yes, we'd like you to come and play this gig. But then how much to bring Atemi? Yeah, and I could say Atemi doesn't take any less than 100,000.
Confidently.
So, and then the client says immediately, okay. I'm like, I should have asked for 2.
Yeah.
You know, and because I was also a music director, all the gigs that we played, people kept asking for that song, and so when somebody asked me what song is most special to me, I'd say that one, just simply because of that story. But there's many other ones.
So from Bigenge to Benga to Kapuka, having Caliph go head to head with Akina Banda, to now having Abanton and Genge, and this called the Abanton and Gengeton. Do you think do you think the Kenyan music scene has evolved, and what's your take about Kenyan music right now?
Yeah, I think it has evolved and it's evolving, and that's such a exciting prospect, because the thing is, there's no music scene anywhere worldwide in the history of music that hasn't evolved. I mean, when you think about the beginnings, like when you study music history in school, and you start with the Gregorian chants, and in those days, church music was just that. Amen. There was no instruments. It was the priest singing. Then you guys jibu amen. It was called the Gregorian chant.
Yes.
Okay.
Now that was the only music that was acceptable in the church. Anything else outside of that was considered worldly music, right? But I'm not convinced that in Jesus' days that was the music that they were listening to.
Probably not.
Yeah. There was a guy with a seated over there with his kalaya, lyre, which is like a nyatiti or a guitar of some sort, and he's singing a song. It was accompanied, and the Bible even itself tells us, praise the Lord with the timbrels and harps. That means there was instrumentation. But that's an evolution of music. And then from the Gregorian chants, we go into all this Renaissance period, Baroque period. I can't remember which one comes first. Then classical period, and all these various periods where the music began to change in various ways. And then we come to, let's call it now the pop era. Now the modern era, you can go as far back as you want, as far as since the time when recording came into being, from the Beatles onwards and whatever. Music again began to evolve into something else. And here we are in Kenya at a point where, first of all, our music industry was completely dead. In Moi's time. He killed it completely. If you wanted to find a musician, they were playing in a pub somewhere, and they were probably dead drunk after. And that's why our parents told us, you can't be a musician, because musicians have this behavior.
You are Levi.
Because it was the only place where you could find musicians, right? Okay. And then all of a sudden, the musicians are getting into the studios. All of a sudden, groups like Flashpoint Band, which was there was a rap group that I think was called I forget what they're called, but they used to have a song that used to go, I say move, ding 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 ding. I say move, ding. Not high five. No. I forget what those guys were called. Two guys rapping on top of Unga House.
I remember. I can't remember the name.
The music industry slowly started coming back. Akina 5 Alive now came in after and changed the music again, and then Ted with Tafsiri with Akina Kishaka, and Akina Hardstone, and then all of a sudden the music industry is vibrant again. Now here we are at Gengeton and Abanton. Cool. First, Gengeton and Abanton is the same thing. Only one uses beats that exist, the other one uses created beats. This is good. It's a good debate to have, in the sense that we have to ask ourselves questions like, are the Abanton guys going to, when they begin to win Grammys, for example, are they going to face lawsuits for
sampling?
For infringing on other people's copyright?
See, I think the problem is longevity. Because most of these samples, they like right now, you can't speak of any Gengeton. Abanton just came up to see it's been washed. But you can still listen to Issa. I can still listen to what even the Gen Zs of now, if you go to an event, an outdoor event, and play songs from back in the day, they sing along like the new songs. But a few years down the line, these new artists...
but remember that we said that same thing about Kapuka. We said the same thing.
True.
True.
Now, you mentioned Issa, but the only reason, and this one maybe guys will crucify me, I don't know. The only reason that you mention Issa as the flagship bearer of that whole Kapuka Boomba sound is because he passed away. Period.
Wow. Hey,
Yes.
tunanidi kupumua.
It's because he's passing heart the entire nation.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the only
because
reason why we...
if you want to know exactly where Issa would be today, look at where Nameless is. Because Nameless is still an icon.
Yeah.
It's just he doesn't have the grasp on people's hearts, the way Issa has.
Okay, on that note, we are going to take a break. Because this is something we have to debate about. Stick around. Let's just take some